Welcome to the StudioPTBO podcast. We are back, and we are back with another guest.
We are. We're churning out a lot of episodes recently.
Ton of episodes.
Yeah.
We have a marketing podcast. We have a marketing hacks group.
Yes.
And we also have Matt Diamond in the studio today.
Welcome, brother. This is
Welcome.
awesome.
It's
Matt,
a pleasure. Thank
Matt
you.
Diamond is, for those that don't know, is actor, voice actor, podcaster, super dad, former DJ at The Wolf. He's a rock star. He's in a band. This guy is like, talk about a jack of all trades.
You're making me feel very good already.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
That's what we do with guests. Right out of the way, we butter them
fact
up.
that you
then
let me
before-
in the
Butter them
door
up, and then we
first.
just like throw like
Yeah.
right.
The hard-hitting marketing questions come, but like they're pretty cool. Like Matt and I have just got to know each other the last few weeks. Super stoked that you're sort of part of the ecosystem here now, and we might be doing stuff together. And but Matt Diamond, how did this Oshawa boy land in Peterborough?
I want to give the abbreviated story because I think I already told Cody like the full. I could see his eyes rolling in the back of his head after I told him last time that I was here.
Tell us the radio soundbite version.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I went back.
Edit.
I went back to school to do radio after doing something else and like didn't like office life type of thing.
Okay.
And then got jobbed out in my hometown in Oshawa for a great station called 94.9 The Rock. And then I worked there for the better part of like 13 years and respectfully knocked my wife up. No, we decided to have a family.
Right.
And then it just wasn't the spot that I wanted to raise my family at. So I have always loved Peterborough, even the art and the music here. And a mutual friend kind of leaked some information to me, letting me know that there might be an opening at the Wolf. And I'm just born rock and roll through and through. You know, my dad was always the one to put on a record and freak us out and make us listen to Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon, front to back. And lo and behold,
Did
I
you smoke
got
weed
that
with your dad?
My dad, you know, it's funny. You know, it's
is
funny.
that like the epic cool?
It's weird, but like my dad, like just now started to even just dabble a little. I don't even know if he's actually smoked weed before, but like telling people that story, everyone's like, "Your dad's a pothead. Your dad's a pothead," but he's not. He was always like really straight laced, but just loved music, and that was imprinted in me. And lo and behold, after I left Oshawa, I got that afternoon drive job at the Wolf.
That's cool, man. And the
that's
Wolf
good.
was or is the iconic rock station in Peterborough. I think it's been around 25 years.
It is actually last year, I believe, if not the year before, it was 25 years.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me about your time at the Wolf. Like, what was it like? You know, like you're doing something now. Like you do something different.
I'm
now.
doing nothing now.
You're
Actually,
doing-
it's the best.
Well, you are.
I'm hanging out with you. I do nothing now.
He just hangs out in
We're
the
going,
studio.
we're going 10 hours with this show because
That's
he's
right.
got nothing.
He has nothing on the plan today.
I'm like, I gotta go somewhere. No.
well, I got a 3 o'clock, so we got to
Yeah.
keep this.
No
keep
problem.
this
You
very
do.
short.
You do. That's
Yeah,
fine.
we'll keep going.
Yeah,
No
we'll keep
problem.
good. But yeah, so tell me about your time at the Wolf. Like, what was it like? You know, like a lot of people aspire to be, you know, a radio broadcast. You know, they go to school for it,
Yep.
and like, you know, they. I have a lot of friends that just dream of this, you know, this life on radio, and I have friends, you know, out west that are doing it. So tell me about the time. Like, was it a dream, or was it like, what was it at that time? Like, what drew you to broadcast?
Okay, so long story short, again, after doing what so many of us do, is bring your guitar out west and be a hippie and travel and all that shit. And while I was out traveling with a friend, we were listening to radio all the time. And at the time, I wasn't a student. I had already graduated from a program, but I wasn't feeling it. So while I was out traveling, I was listening to radio thinking, these guys are awful.
These guys suck.
It was just so Rodney radio, you know what I mean? When people are putting it on, and I just always really liked the guys that, the Strombos or anyone else, Alan Cross or, some of my other contemporaries that I used to work with that were like we're doing right now.
Yeah.
This is the way radio should be. It shouldn't be.
Shot the shit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a fine line between being official, but I just remember thinking that this is like, I would love to be able to just tell stories and even just like we talked about, just about music and my dad. So while I was coming back, I remember thinking, if I go back home and I can't work at McDonald's, I got to do something or my brain's going to like leak out of my ear. So I called my dad literally from the road, and I just said, I think I want to go back to school. I think I want to do broadcasting because I love music and I like to tell stories, and I play music a little bit. And he said, listen, I'll pay for it if you can graduate and get a job. But if you
Wow.
don't finish the program and you don't, job out, then you owe me back the money. So if that's
Oh,
motivation, if that's motivation for anything.
Yeah, that's a good motivation.
And you have to
It
listen to
was.
The Wall on repeat for 100
Exactly.
hours.
Exactly. No, he's gonna make me listen to Ike and Tina on repeat, staring at me the whole time. But which wouldn't be that bad anyway, really. But
That's so cool that your dad took a chance on you.
he did.
I mean,
he did it the first time as well when I had done multimedia before that. This is back in the day when everybody wanted a Flash website and stuff.
Yeah,
But
remember that.
I worked in that office space for the better part of a year or two. But I'm not into it's funny, I'm wearing a collar now, but the golf shirt khaki mentality and dealing with clients all the time. So when I got a job out of broadcasting, and it was in my own hometown. And the entire program was 8 months from Humber, so it was like because I already
That's cool,
had
man.
another
Yeah, it's
diploma.
accelerated kind
So
of.
exactly, yeah, it was like the quicker version of it. But next thing I know, I was working in my hometown, and I didn't have to pay my dad back. So thank you for that.
And Dad must be proud of you.
Yeah.
So great radio career at the Wolf, and then you left there last year. Was it 2018?
Yeah, it was December of so this past December would have marked the 1 year anniversary.
Yeah. And what did you leave it for? You left it for a journey being a dad and being able to dabble in other stuff that you've wanted to do. Like you have a great podcast that I started listening to and researching you called Knobs.
Yeah.
And you're anything but a knob, but it's,
Debatable.
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, but I like that you thoroughly, clearly, I listened to a few episodes with Glass Tiger and Jim Cuddy, that you thoroughly research who you're interviewing. You're very thoughtful about it. You know their backstories and stuff like that. So is that really where you want to dwell more if you go into that world again, immerse yourself into that?
Just like we're doing right now, I love the uncensored version of these kinds of conversations where, I mean, like right now we're doing the podcast thing. Of course, you still have to keep it under wraps as far as your time goes. But the one thing that I kind of shied away from when it came to corporate radio is the fact that there was so much that I felt needed to be said.
Right.
And you're only given a very small window of time. And to give other people that platform, and I understand why program directors do this, but if 99% of the population doesn't know who that person is, they're probably not going to get number one, airplay, or number two, a chance to come in and speak to the masses. I mean, that's what social media is great for. But I think the entire technology, the way that podcasts and the way that digital distribution and contribution is working now, that's more where I see myself. It was I'm not to say this isn't to say that I wouldn't go back to radio, but you're right. I did kind of step out of that realm in order to be a full-time dad, and my wife is the breadwinner. I like to call myself an artist. That means you're broke. That's great. You don't make a lot of money. My wife is, she knocks it out of the park every day doing her own business. She works for an essential oil company, and she's an ironically diamond level leader with her company. But we did the numbers, and we were like, listen, if we can be at home more, it's going to allow her to do more of her business, which then when it's like, okay, pass the time card to me, it's like, okay, you can go do whatever you want now because I've been at home raising the kids.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's a long-winded answer, but I wanted just to take on more creative endeavors, and a 9-to-5 radio thing was just kind of keeping me in one spot.
Yeah. What are those endeavors? Like, what are you doing? Like, we chatted a little bit about kind of the corporate stuff you're doing and the commercial work you're doing. So maybe tell us a little bit about what you're doing in regards to, voice work.
Yeah, well, it's nice. I have two different agencies that I work with. One is actually from here to do a little on-camera stuff called Strut. I'm sure that you guys have probably seen Strut before. Fredau, she's a good friend of mine. She's hooked me and my wife up with some stuff on the side. But the agency in Toronto is called Vox Talent, and it was kind of led me down that path because of radio, because I had somebody else who was a coworker that worked with them. And I always loved the theater of the mind aspect of doing voice stuff because I hate to see myself, which is which is funny. Yeah, that's why I'm like shying away from camera.
You're like this.
Rob,
You're
just
like
point
talking
it out.
into the mic like this.
If I could, I would have my tired eyes behind sunglasses all day. And but that thing for me is always that theater of the mind aspect, where if I'm in the booth, I love to read scripts and kind of go somewhere with it. And voice acting, whether it's something where you need to speak very matter-of-factly and be endearing.
That's good,
with
man.
it,
It's
like
working.
that. As opposed to being a character actor and doing really fun things, because I can listen. I don't mind listening to myself, but when it comes to the on-camera stuff, it's not really my bag.
Sure.
So
Self-awareness.
voice acting. I just put together a demo and I wrote a whole bunch of different little lines of fake commercials and produced it because I
Good
love
for
to
you.
produce too.
Good for you.
And they took me on, and I voiced some really fun stuff. I love doing that.
That's
stuff,
awesome,
yeah.
man. So that's a good niche for you. Tell me about this era we're in right now and your lens on it. We're sort of still seen as disruptors a bit, what we're doing. Social media.
Yes.
And you're in traditional radio, and I had a great run there. But it seems like there's still too many rules in life right now, and
So many.
There's still to your point, there's still definitely a stigma within social media.
Right.
It's super interesting because people use it. And I was recently listening to a video the other day, and kind of the concept behind the video was, we market differently than the way that we consumers actually consume content.
Absolutely.
So, I would like to hear your lens on that. Were you seeing that within your radio career, or what was it that kind of made you make the shift?
Well, okay, so first and foremost, I have integrity, so I would never want to throw anyone under the bus. There was never like one person, because everybody, anywhere that I've been, actually, I have two people that I really put high up top on the shelf as far as people that took a chance on me.
Yeah.
And they didn't have to do that because I really didn't have any merit when it came to any accolades or anything like that. But I will say that the confines of corporate radio. Mm-hmm. Long gone is the aspect of trusting a so-called DJ to have the know-how to choose what they're going to play throughout their shift. And what happened with me was that there was a what I call the coffee cup moment, where I got an email about somebody leaving their coffee cup in the recycling bin. And it was kind of like the hand was coming down, the fist was coming down here. And I'm thinking, like, man, I'm not worried about this coffee cup in the recycling bin right now. You know what I mean?
Make sure you put your coffee in the recycling
I know.
bin before you leave.
Make sure you take the lid off too.
Yeah.
We put the lid in the garbage.
Actually, we're going too corporate because Nora complains about that. Yeah.
I brought you all
Put a call
coffee.
out on that.
So I am going to be part of the problem today. I brought this entire office coffee today. But I think that was the thing for me, is that, like, I don't know if this will answer that, but even to try to go down the path to answer your question was like, I wasn't even within the mind frame to try to step out creatively because there was just so much red tape. And I know the powers that be, it wasn't their fault.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They
Don't
just
get me wrong.
had to inherit that.
I understand.
Culture.
100%.
They have,
it's a culture thing.
There's a hierarchy and there is a book.
Right.
And if you're not doing things, by the book, I mean, when I say that, I mean that literally. There would be meetings where people would say, okay, well, let's look here. What does it say in the book?
Right.
So I think that in this age where we're at right now, the freedom and to do exactly what you guys are doing, the expression factor is just like cranked to 11 now,
Why do you think that is happening, though, that there's this dichotomy happening right now between the disruptors and this other world that's so corporate? And like, where, I know there's no easy answer to this, but where along the lines do brands feel they have to get that way? And because for me, they just lose all sense of authenticity and realness, and the consumers call BS on it too. Like they can tell when you're reading from a script and you're playing the same old music every day, and the storytelling's gone.
Yeah.
Like I know you don't have the answer to this, but why do you think this happens?
Money.
Do we have too much money?
I really do think that a lot
But do
of
we
it
have
has
too
to do
much
with money.
idle time too when you get in a corporate career and you're just looking for shit?
Maybe it's
to
funny.
Complain about.
It's funny because a lot of the higher uppers are obviously following suit with trends like social media and the way that they better need to communicate their message. So when I say money, I'm thinking whatever they're going to do to keep advertising dollars, flowing through, just like any media, really, where it comes down to it, like sponsorship and advertising, sales sells. You know what I mean? As silly as that sounds, it's like, I think when it comes down to these things, they have to be able to keep, the light on by keeping money flowing through things. So I think that it's just a matter of trying to please everybody and making sure that there's still payroll.
What if radio reverse engineered itself now and became more like a podcast? And there was Matt Diamond in the afternoon for like an hour of the 4 hours was you talking to artists and interviewing them and asking them their story. Like what
it's kind of like what MTV was back in the day, like, even Much Music.
Remember when Much Music played music?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's...
I just
Sign
think
of the
like
times.
whoever does do that is going to
Yeah.
win. I mean, and definitely podcast. That's what this is. It's story,
Yes,
but-
yes and no. Like, you know, it's so hard because like within any industry, like we see even, you know, there are people that are adopting social media as, wow, I can really build a business on social media. And there's people that are, you know, hesitant and doing things the way that they've always done it. So it's going to take a real, you know, not like when you get into a corporate like structure, it's going to literally take the top down leader to say,
true.
hey, like, you know, I really want to see change and I want to implement that change.
The revolt can't happen from the bottom up with coffee cups in the recycling bin. Like
Well, you know what,
hundreds and
like
hundreds.
there's a risk factor there, but with no risk, there's no reward. And I know even as a listener, I would be completely okay by hearing an extended, you know, interview with breaks, some music being played. I don't think that the model works for everybody. That's
Right.
just it. Is the way that it is as far as the you know,
What
let's
happens,
go.
what happens like, you know, like, and like you might, like, again, you might not have the answer, but like you have the background. So the question is, I look at a company like Spotify, who's now offering people like businesses, sponsorships, an opportunity to essentially get their message in front of viewers. From the, you know, they're essentially offering what a radio is offering.
Right.
How do you think radio, or how do you think, you know, like, do you see businesses shift to a, you know, a Spotify ad versus a radio ad over the next like 3 to 5 years?
Even YouTube, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
YouTube pre-rolls, totally.
Enough
Yeah.
of us, like we were talking about, doing some of that voice stuff. A lot of that work comes in for digital, so it's not even to do with radio.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, a lot of that work comes
Okay.
with stuff that's online. So content is content, right? I mean,
Yep.
content's always king. But you know, I don't, you know, without sounding like this, I don't think that I should spend too much of my time speaking to just radio because. Like I said, that was just happenstance for me. That was just something that I thought I could do that. It wasn't something that I was like, my mission is to always be a radio DJ.
Yeah. Well,
So I kind of watched, you know, the way that trends ebb and flow and the way that things have worked with that. But to answer your question, it's just like, it's just money.
Yeah.
It really is corporate. It
Sure.
just has to do with money.
okay, so tell us about this era we're in right now, what it means to you and what it looks like. I mean, for me, you know, we've talked about this umpteen times. It's incredibly liberating, this disruptive era. I embrace it. You know, I was in a magazine industry for 20 years. I was in print, loved it, embraced it, crushed it, but it was dying.
Right.
So I got out. I'm like, I can be nostalgic about the past,
Yeah.
but I have to move on. And to your point earlier, if you don't move on and embrace it, then you're dead. Innovate or else. So what does this era mean to you now, Matt, in terms of, you know, having this autonomy to really do whatever you want to do from the comfort of your own home, because you have a studio set up in your own home where you
Right.
can interview people in your podcast.
Yeah. And what does that look like
Are
going
we
forward?
blessed to live in this era in your mind right now?
You know, it's a blessing and a curse because when I am, you know, I love that you use the word nostalgia because I am you know, I just love that. I love to go back.
I do
you know,
too.
when it comes to that.
A lot of people do.
And I think, you know, a sign of the times is that a lot of, like you said, a lot of people do. People are buying records again. You know, I mean, that's been a thing for the better part of a decade and more. But the problem that I have with it is that there's no simplicity. So I'm almost 40. Even in my young age, we'll say that for now, you know, I'm every day there's a new term or a new app or something that I'm like, oh man, I'm just getting caught up to speed with this one. So the progression is happening at such a rate
Rapid,
that
yeah.
sometimes I'm trying just to get locked into one thing. And I would like to think I'm pretty well versed in all of it. I will say that I consume music through digital, and I have a subscription to Spotify just like the next guy. And I will go to concerts. I will buy vinyl. So I'm making sure that I'm putting, you know, not only dollars into the artist's pocket, but I'm doing my best to try to try to have a tangible product as well. You know, you might have an account to something, but there's nothing tangible like going out to buy a record.
Right. Agreed.
So, you know, it's a double-edged sword for me because I would really love it to be the simplicity, you know, the simple thing that, oh man, on Tuesday night, I got to listen to Cody's radio show because I don't know what he's going to play.
Yeah.
You know, but at the same time, I love to be able to download the podcast or stream the podcast and take it with me and consume it anytime and anywhere that I go.
But if you're nostalgic about, you know, the past, and so for me, I'm nostalgic about, I grew up listening to radio that was storytelling. You know, the morning show man had 20 minutes to do an interview. I used to go on with Mike Melnick and had 20 minutes with him on the radio. Grew up listening to Peter Zosky on CBC Morningside. And, you know, but to me, it's bringing it back around at some level.
Right.
Like podcasting is that,
Yeah.
right? It's just a different way to consume.
And to subscribe, to know that, like, there's I have a handful, I would probably say 10 that I actually subscribe to, that I know for a fact I look forward to on Monday and Thursday. I'll get those coming to me. So, there is a little bit of that, the desire to have something that's packaged and ready to go with it. But the long-winded conversations are the ones that I love.
Yeah.
Just like we're doing right now. People, put it this way, people aren't going to listen unless they actually care to listen.
I agree.
And that's the thing, is as far as radio goes, they might just be stuck with it at the office waiting for that one song to come up and play, and might not care about what the DJ is talking about, because they know that they're talking about something that's kind of mandated, and it's like, oh, this is the top 5 funny stories of the day or the week, But you guys can do whatever you want. When it comes to a podcast, you can, your content is up to you. And people are only going to be here, even in this moment while we're talking right now. If people don't like me, or they don't care for whatever we're talking about,
the market is the market is the market.
It is.
Totally. The internet's the middleman now.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you can dictate whatever your brand is, or your company's, mantra, or whatever it is. It's up to you. You don't have anybody else coming to you to tell you, listen,
100%.
you got to do this.
And we can go deep. We can go long with this, an hour long. But guess what? We can leverage pieces of content too. That's the beauty of it. You could have a really great soundbite, and then, like we did with the recent one, Richard Petty, right, on leadership.
Which is like why we are recording, because you can communicate one way through video.
Yeah.
We have audio. We have an audio podcast. We can break it into 20 different micro pieces of content.
It's TV and radio.
TV,
all
radio,
at once.
all on one, all on different platforms, communicating. It's beautiful. It's wonderful.
And you're not going to get bogged down in like 10 seconds with 4 minutes of commercials.
No. Yeah, actually, we got to cut to a sponsor.
I was going to say, unless you're actually really killing it, and you guys are making money off of this.
Well, okay, let's talk about that. So yours, Knobs, do you have sponsors on that, and how does that look like? Because you have great artists on that, and I highly recommend his podcast. It is Knobs. You can find it on Buzzsprout or Spotify.
It's on. I'm not on Spotify with it, actually. It's on iTunes and through Stitcher, and then there's just a website as well. So you can go to knobspodcast.com.
So how do you monetize that? And
it was through sponsorship, to be honest. Awesome. We, like I had spoke to Cody about in the past, is about trying to go to particular companies and or sponsors that are just like your brand. So, I mean, don't get me wrong, if I don't know, Coca-Cola was to say, we're going to give you, no, my conscience says, but I would try to headhunt and aim for clients and sponsors that are like-minded. So put it this way, if you're listening to a music podcast, I mean, odds are you're not waiting to hear an ad from a mechanic, so my podcast
contextualized to
exactly
the brand,
right. So those sponsors normally had to do with either music and or instruments. So I had a great company on board for a while called Pedal Genie, which was a guitar pedal company. You could rent guitar pedals on. They would mail them to your house. It's really cool. And Roland Boss, another great another company that's a music or an instrument manufacturer, pardon me. So I was trying to kind of keep everything within the same vein of what the podcast was about, but I won't lie, I would cold call not only artists for my show, like bless the record label relationship that I've always kept because of my radio job.
Networking is everything.
Exactly, it really is, and there was never any monetary incentive there. It was just like, no, I love these artists, let's spread the word. But when it came to sponsorship, I would just
make the ask.
Absolutely. And let them know, like,
it's amazing, eh?
Totally. We were at a meeting today and we were talking about making the ask with the client.
Yeah.
It's just like a lot of times people just aren't comfortable making the ask, but that's when the magic happens, is making the ask. Like we had Richard Petty on our show last week.
Yep.
We literally just made the ask. We had Babin on our show. Like it just comes down to making the ask. Like,
it is.
Because if
have you been asked before?
Yeah.
Have you not been asked before?
Everyone's been asked for
100%.
something.
Right? What is wrong with that? There's absolutely nothing wrong.
And if you strike out 90% of the time, that's okay, because we said
it's still 10%.
Exactly.
I'll take the 10%.
But that's just it. You need to know your worth. This is where I've got my wife sitting right here, right now.
Yeah.
And I've always been a yes man. I've always been the guy to be very coy about a handout, or asking for something within financial compensation. But like, know your worth. There's absolutely nothing wrong with saying, listen, I've got this many listeners, and or here's our audience. Do you want to be a part of the party for a very, a pretty small sum?
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with
But
that.
a qualified niche audience.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It raises the bar as far
I
as
agree.
quality and your content to
I
know.
agree.
And then, like Cody and I had spoke about before, then you're using all of not only the artist and the label, but the sponsors' social media pipeline and their outlet to say,
shareability. Yeah.
that's just it. Let's all be under this roof together. Let's make sure that we all see the strength and the quality within this. They put it out through their social.
100%.
My numbers grow. Their numbers grow.
It's a
win-win.
brand play.
It's win-win.
It's a brand play, totally.
Tell us your lens on authenticity and what that means to you, Matt. I feel like you and I just met for the first time, I think 2 weeks ago in here in this room, and we just felt a connection right away. And Cody said the same thing when you left.
awesome.
And what does we always talk about with people, you're the product of the 5 people you sort of surround yourself with. And
Oh my God, I love that.
Yeah, and I've sort of figured that out.
You got to make cuts sometimes.
Yeah,
right?
you do.
Yeah,
you got to make cuts.
If they're not bringing you up,
you got to. You don't.
And
Have to
it's funny because that can be kind of an unpopular thing to do.
Oh well.
100%. It's like it's either glass half full, glass half empty. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to call them and break up with
No,
them.
no.
But what does that look
I
like?
really hope I never get a call from you.
I've
You didn't get my
unsubscribed,
text?
Cody.
Yeah, I unfollowed you. What does authenticity look like to you, and what kind of people are you drawn to? Here's an example I'll give about Matt. He came in today and brought us a carton of Tim Hortons for the team. Like, just nice thing to do. He's not trying to do it. He's not trying to suck up to us. Like, it's just a nice gesture.
I am a little, but that's just because I want to hang out with you guys. I want you to,
Totally.
I want to be
Don't
a
worry,
part
you're
of it.
in now.
All right,
I would have preferred Starbucks,
Sweet.
but
Somebody's gonna chirp us about not using local coffee.
Yeah, no, actually, I might get called out.
I was going to say, here's that sponsorship thing
I
again.
know.
I feel like we're in this movement now of kindness and empathy and authenticity, and I'm locked into it. It's changed my life being on that. But what does it look like to you? A, have you always been like that? And B, what does it mean to your life and the people you surround yourself with in your family?
First and foremost, thank you, because that is I don't take that as just lip service, because it is every quality of, every fiber of my being. I would like to say I do my very best to try to make connections with everybody and to try to have, I'm vulnerable just like everybody else. And I want to surround myself with people, just like we just said, that bring me up, that certainly I'm a hugger. I love to, I love the love no matter what, especially, I'm a dad now. I'm doing my best to try to preach positivity everywhere I go. But when it comes to the, authenticity, especially within the field that I've worked in the past, and I've been sitting down and talking to people that I really, really highly look up to, not only from an artistic standpoint, but I've been let down a very few number of times when it comes to that.
Okay.
But I will be the first person to always want to look you in the eye and give you my real self, and so much to the fact that you were looking for me on Instagram. My real last name is Holtby.
Right.
Matt Diamond was a brand that was created when I worked in Oshawa because they got bought by another station, and they said
they made you change your name. Corporate culture.
They chose the name though, which was great. The station was
Good name.
The Rock, and Steve Casse, I love you to death. He said, we want you to be the diamond on the rock. And I thought, that's the most ridiculous thing ever, because I'm from the city. People know who I am.
Yeah.
So I'm getting calls all the time, back in the day saying, who's Matt Diamond? What, are you in porn or something? And I clearly am not. But that being said, I'm okay with telling you that story because that's the real me. And I mean, the Matt Diamond thing, it'd be silly for me not to carry it on afterwards, because I created a name for myself doing, all I did with media.
You built that brand.
It's a brand,
and
right?
it's still true to you.
But when it comes to, being authentic, we all know people that if you're in that room, and there's, a bit of a hive in the corner where there's a lot of real interaction going on and a lot of love, and people are being vulnerable and they're being themselves. And when the one person that comes in that everybody surely on paper thinks they're pretty cool,
Toxic.
pretty toxic,
but right away.
Yeah, there's a real
so
energy that you can. It's palpable.
Yeah.
It is in the room.
Whether it's
in
a
the
cocktail party or at an office environment, it can be
Anywhere,
one
dude.
person. It's anywhere.
Well,
Yeah,
and it's interesting you said last week on the show we were talking with Richard Petty, and
Which let me just interject. When you told me that, do you know who Richard Petty, the race car driver, is?
Yeah.
Okay, so when he told me that, I was
Yeah.
like, oh,
Wow.
wicked, because he's got the handlebar mustache and the glasses and the cowboy hat. I'm like, what
Yeah,
a
he's
get.
coming up to Peterborough.
Yeah, I'm like, what a get. How did you get Richard Petty? And then he explains
Well,
it
we
to
got
me.
this Richard Petty.
Yeah, we got
get
this
that
Richard
Richard
Yeah,
Petty.
well, one is
We're
worth
gonna
a
get the
little
next
bit
one now.
more,
Yeah.
I would think. But
But like
sorry.
we were chatting with him, and he was talking about just this idea of like corporate, even within a corporate culture or like with any business per se, it's like one toxic person can ruin the entire bunch. So it's like you
crazy.
talked about like firing quick.
Yeah.
You know,
Hire slow,
hire slow, fire quick.
Yeah.
But it's like that, and like you can implement that even in your personal life.
And we should. Just like we said about like, making cuts, unsubscribing to people that are, just not bringing you up. It should be reciprocated all the time. I don't understand why we constantly are feeling like, it doesn't leave the playground. I've told my bless his heart, my 5-year-old son, like, even daddy deals with bullies, even in this day and age. Everywhere that you go, whether it's online, or being, in the bar, within the music industry or any of this kind of stuff, as far as media goes, those people are everywhere. So when it comes to my own personal time, it's not like I am being paid to be, in a room full of people. If they're not bringing me up,
leave.
I'm,
you have a choice, and that's the point. A lot of people feel like they're stuck in this peer pressure, like high school, and but it truly is true. So we feel that. Tell me about music, sort of how music has impacted your life, and how it's maybe empowered you or changed your life, or do you sort of go through life with high fidelity moments.
That's a really good, that's
but
a statement, because I do. I have, even when it comes to listening to my favorite artist, I like to be able to set aside the evening and put on the record in a nice setting with low lights and have a glass of wine, and then like totally set the mood for it. The way I was raised was never like the movie family. We were always like a record. And my parents raised us.
That was with my parents too.
Taking us to concerts. We were always going to concerts as kids and stuff.
Simon and Garfunkel was my first.
Anne Murray was my first.
Really?
But
That's
bless
awesome.
my mother.
I loved Anne. My parents listened to Anne Murray.
Yeah, it was Anne
awesome.
Murray, and then Huey Lewis and the News, which I talked to Jim Cuddy about too, because his parents were the same way. But like, I was like front row center. Huey Lewis and the News.
I Want a New Drug. You were right up front,
right there. And
that's so cool.
But the best was, my parents were together at the time, but they were my dad would make us make buttons to wear to the like Huey Lewis is going to see my sports button.
Well, he thought you'd show up on Much Music or MTV or something.
But it was that's the way that our family was. Yeah. The dynamic was all centered around having this great soundtrack to even car rides or nights
which created a soundtrack of your life. Sort of.
It really did.
Yeah.
It would kind of set nothing else made me feel that way. Even to this day, I love my family. Friendships and relationships are obviously number one, but nothing does that to me like music. Music, we all know it, right?
Yeah.
And
when I'm having a high or a low moment, I just put on a song, and it just puts me in another world.
And it allows you to, even with the low moments, and I do feel it necessary to interject and say rest in peace to John Hall, because you and I were just in that room. And we were there to have a really, really poignant, special moment with John's mom in the room when they played a song that leveled the entire room.
Beautiful Boy
by John Lennon, and especially being a father to a beautiful boy, that just, it was a gut punch, but for the best reason. Everybody was there in that moment. And for my high moments and my low moments, I mean, I'm a big, I'm a big Elliott Smith fan, and he's a real kind of a somber singer-songwriter. He's no longer around, but even in those moments, I like to relish in those moments. If I'm going to be down, let's put on a soundtrack. Let's get right into it.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was Johnny Hall, and I want to get back to that. Like, Johnny changed Peterborough's landscape and brought vinyl back, made vinyl cool again. Like he was a game changer in this community, and you were saying that earlier, that ode to him, and he was one of those people. I don't want to go too far with this, but I want to reference Johnny and the impact he had on Peterborough, and he opened the Twisted Wheel with Mike Judson, Spanky's. He did the Trashateria for like 18 years, an iconic bar. And
he's an iconic entrepreneur.
And he was an example of a disruptor who truly said, I'm going to make shit happen.
That's what I said. He was a rock star in every way, shape, or form. I almost feel there's a blessing and a curse for me, and this is going to sound real sappy, but I've only spent a limited amount of time with some of these people. I've only really lived in the Kawarthas for the better part of 3 or 4 years, but I can imagine how monumental that loss would feel to people that have been here for decades,
Yeah.
you know, that have been in that, you know, the backyard with these people that are game changers, because I got knocked right off my ass by that news, you know, a week and a half ago.
Huge void, huge loss to the community.
Such a huge loss.
Huge loss. And you were talking earlier about you're the product of the 5 people. So you were in that bar, the Twisted Wheel, with all these beautiful people.
Yeah.
And that's who Johnny surrounded himself with, like disruptors, shit disturbers, but wonderful people, kindness and empathy and positivity, and you can be all of it at once, right? It was just like that was one of the most beautiful. It was a tragic, you know, moment, but beautiful moments that I've experienced.
Silver lining, you know, to be able, and I said this to Judson actually, because he was, you know, obviously he has been on the forefront of this entire thing, and huge kudos to him. I couldn't imagine what he's going through, but you know, he came outside, he ushered me in, and I said to him, the true testament to John's legacy, I know maybe 3 people in this room. You were one of them, of course, but you know, and I still felt like I belonged there for a second. And even if I was only there for the better part of 25 minutes, maybe 2 drinks. But that being said, I kind of just sat in the corner and took it all in, and I was really, really blessed to be in that moment, because I kind of felt the spirit of him, and I mean that like the spirit of what he did, what he encompassed to be in that room.
It was a powerful, powerful micro moment, and it shows the potential of people that really are good people fundamentally.
And what do you want your mark and your legacy to be?
Yeah,
It really comes down to legacy.
That really is it, but I mean, you can still be a rock star. You can be,
and boy,
anything that as far as that embodies, but you know, if you aren't leaving something behind that you know for a fact that you are being your whole true self.
Johnny gave 100 people in that room their first break, whether it was playing in a band, DJing, hiring them at the trash, doing renovation at Spanky's, like my friend Kevin Stairs, he gave him his first big break. Like it was unbelievable, unbelievable. So
you know, and life can't all be about money. You know, it's like when you enter a room like that, and somebody has like that kind of impact on a community, on a group of people. Really, that at the end of the day, like you know, that's really what you want, is that lasting legacy. That you know, like that, to know that you help somebody. Like I think is something that really resonates more than just, you know, making a lot of money or doing, you know, traveling the world. It's like, did I actually leave a lasting impact on people?
I think, just to interject quickly as well, I think it also says something to do with this community. Yeah. And I've been so lucky to be ushered into such an amazing community that's here. You know, within all of the, you know, the behind the scenes of all the bar and the nightlife and the music, that aside, to be part of certain things that I've done in the past 3 or 4 years that I've done in Peterborough, I haven't done in my entire life.
Wow. That's so cool.
Yeah. Like
this fastest growing community in all of Canada.
Everyone's moving here because there's something in the water here.
Totally. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it is. And I have friends from Toronto that, you know, have left a completely different corporate life there
to come here. Yeah, we're hacking attention.
It's, I mean, by any way you know, that you can. Why not? Because the vibe here.
How do you explain it? Like, because you're new.
You're not from here,
and you're not either.
Neither am I. I've been here for almost 10 years now.
I grew up here, left for 20 years,
almost
came back.
10 years now, but like there's, like you said, there is something in the water.
So how do you explain it?
I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it. Can you explain it?
I do, because I think that what I felt was that, okay, so I don't want to say that I'm like anxiety ridden, but when it comes to huge buildings and people and the hustle and bustle, like let's just say Toronto. I love Toronto for a night.
Yep.
But then I love to come back,
right?
You know, to have things kind of just calm down a little bit, right? And I feel like coming into Peterborough, there's all of the best things that I love about being in a big city, kind of condensed in the downtown core. You're not seeing, like, if you want a big box anything, you got to go out to Lansdowne, or you got to go Shamong to go to the Walmart, or you know, I mean, those things have a time and a place in any community. There's no doubt about it. Yeah. But you know, I've lived here 3-4 years. There's still restaurants I've never gone into, and they're still coming. You know, there's
more is coming.
All the time. You know, there's the mom and pop aspect of it. We have 2 record stores like directly across the street from each other.
Blue Streak is, you know, iconic. Yeah,
Zap and Blue Streak. I love Tim at Blue Streak. I'll still always go there. But I know the guys at Zap as well. Like, but
Tim's sister's in that band too, right? What's the band? Famous sister.
Emily.
Yeah, Emily.
Emily from Metric.
Yeah, from Metric. Yeah,
Tim.
That's pretty cool. Like,
but like the fact that I mean, that just speaks volumes right there. There are like 2 record stores in town, and they're kind of like directly across the street from each other. You know that they've got to be talking to each other and saying, "Hey, like we're in this together, no matter
collaboration."
But
it is a collab city, that's like one of the things I'll add is the fact that when I came here, the biggest thing I recognize with this community, unlike any other community I've lived in other places, it's the collabs. It's not like they're the businesses in Peterborough are really trying to eliminate the silos and really trying to help each other, step up the game together.
Right.
It's not about one business, not about one business here. It's like, how do we, increase the overall economy, and how do we help people that are, marginalized, and how, it's like there's so much happening here from from a business standpoint, but also from a social justice standpoint. There's just so many different things happening in this city, and I think it really makes what Peterborough is.
Do you feel safe here?
I do.
I feel so safe here.
I feel incredibly safe here.
I know.
I know people have my back too, but it's like I do. But I was in Toronto for 20 years, so I'm like, for people who complain about Peterborough, and I get there's a lot of issues here, and I get it's not Disney World here, but Toronto. I worked downtown Toronto and went to bars late at night in downtown Toronto. That I had to watch my back.
You got to watch your back
more
anywhere. I mean, especially being a family man, you want that anyway. I mean, there's stories about any community, but. For lack of a better term, I'm friends with some transient people that are in this city that are, puppy dogs, that are beautiful people.
Dougie. Dougie's one of the best people in Peterborough. He helps people all the time. He's kind. Just look at these people, make eye contact.
Everybody has a story. But they're human. I do not feel intimidated in any way while I'm walking the streets around here. I have no problem. I'm very blessed that I can give a toonie or a 5 here or there. I know that it's it's going to help pick somebody up a little bit. But as far as just being a member of society in Peterborough, I feel, and I also love the fact that I just moved from East City. I'm going to the West End, just up here. But even to walk that might take me 20 minutes.
It's nothing.
There is everything right here in the heart of the city, and that is something to especially when it comes to my family. It's like where I came from in Durham or whatever, even to drive across town now, 25 minutes easily to go across town.
You're in the right place at the right moment in time. The city's on the cusp. I want to finish up with a couple. I'm going to ask Matt Diamond a hard-hitting question here.
Here we go.
Matt does not like to be in front of the camera, but how did you get up in front of hundreds of people and be Buddy Holly? How did you do that?
Man.
Because that is way outside your comfort zone.
It is.
And so Matt was in this a couple years ago. He played Buddy Holly, and I think it was at Showplace. I don't know how many shows you did, but
I think there was 8 in total. So it was like 2 full weekends of it.
Unbelievable. Is this like you going, it's a bucket list thing and I've got to do it? Like what?
No. So what happened was I got into work one day and there was a letter, and I love letters as opposed to an email. There was an envelope with my name on it, and blessed Jerry Allen, the director of that play, said, give me a call. I didn't know who he was or what it was at the time, so I called, and he said, listen, someone that's on the Guild, the Peterborough Theater Guild, has been to one of your open mics, had seen you play, thinks that you might be a good candidate for even just to come and audition. Didn't tell me what the role was, but we'd like you to come out. And lo and behold, the Guild was 1 street over from where I lived in East City, so it was kind of serendipitous in that way. Anyway, so I went, and I remember going in and seeing 2 other dudes that were there wearing their black frame glasses, and I'm like, these guys are Buddy Holly. What am I doing here? What am I doing here? And which is ironic because Rob, who I was up against, he was actually one of the Crickets, is in my band now. He's in Say Ritual now. And but I went in and I read the lines. The thing is that they auditioned us next week, we are sitting right now.
Wow.
So you had to read the
That's
lines.
cutthroat.
You had to read the
That's
lines
cutthroat,
than me.
man.
So I'm like, are you kidding me, man?
Like
even if I get it now, I'm gonna feel like a dick. Because I'm pouring out my heart to these guys, telling them I've never done this before, and these guys are thespians. But it just so happened, they saw something.
Yeah.
And then the next round, they asked me to prepare a song. I think they asked us to do Peggy Sue, and there was one other one, maybe Baby, I think, or something. And I wasn't a big Buddy Holly. I love Buddy Holly's music, but I don't know his entire vocabulary, and it's vast. There's a lot of music. It's not just the hits. So I went in and I butchered a song, but I even rented the Sunburst Strat like Buddy played, and You know,
That's amazing.
I went in and I got the audition, and then when I went home, they offered me the part, and my wife, bless her heart, just said, you know, we're firm believers. Life is all about chapters.
Yeah,
and she was just like,
you can't say no to that.
This is just a really cool chapter.
Part of the
She
journey.
said,
Yeah,
this happened for some reason. You got to do it.
it's cool, man.
And then
cool.
there was
Love
a
it.
4-month process leading into it. So I put all the lines and all the music into my phone. And if you saw me walking around those 4 months leading up to that show, I was listening to every single line that I had to speak in that entire production verbatim. Like someone would say something to me and I'd like give them a line from the play. And be like, yeah, I just tucked in, and it wasn't a bucket list thing, to be perfectly honest, but I'm really, really happy I did it, because singing those songs, being on stage, there were 600 people at one point.
Were your kids old enough to see at that point?
My son was.
Yeah?
My
Nice.
wife, ironically, my wife was pregnant. My wife saw almost all of one show because she was so pregnant and sick at the time with my daughter.
Wow.
That, bless her heart, she was only there for a better part of one show. But my son got to see it. He got to come out.
Cool, man. I love it. Just
Yeah.
take chances. Bet on yourself, man. And
Why not?
It works.
Yeah. And anyone who didn't make it, like you said, you just said you can be in my band.
I would love that.
The other Buddy Holics.
That would be even better. I
Yeah.
would love that.
Tell us about your band. Give a plug to your band here at the end. Where can we find your band? Where do you play next?
Awesome. Yeah, I'm really excited. The band is called Say Ritual, and I have no idea why. I just love the name Ritual, and I just wanted a short word before it, and it looked cool on paper. And the band is comprised with Rob Hedge, who is in Buddy Holly. That's how I met him. And then he and I always said that let's play some music together, because he's so talented. And then 2 other guys that came to the open mic all the time, my dear friend Michael Gray, who plays bass, and then Evan Sheffield, who plays lead guitar in the band. Those guys came out and they were just playing Modest Mouse covers at open mic and stuff one night. So I was like, these guys would be great. And Liam Archer is in every band in town. He's next to Matt Greco, probably the hardest working drummer in Peterborough.
Wow.
And then we have another drummer, Craig Toutant, who is from Oshawa. If you've ever been in Long McQuaid, Oshawa, and or Pickering, you would know him too. He's a sweetheart. He was in 2 other bands with me. But that being said, it's just all original rock and roll music. Now that I've had the time,
You're writing it?
I'm writing.
Awesome.
You know, Rob and I, but I'm writing the music. We're producing the music. James McKenty and my friend Mike Phillips is mixing the record. And
From the Strokes.
who's that? Mike
James
Phillips?
McKenny?
James
Wasn't
McKenty.
he-
The Spades.
The
Strokes.
Sorry, not the Strokes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Strokes still a pretty great band.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
But-
They're starting to list the
Yeah,
Strokes
yeah.
again. That's why I said that. The Spades.
Oh, I know. How could
Iconic
you not?
Peterborough band. Yeah.
But yeah, James in his studio in Peterborough has taken things to new heights. I will always speak my love for him in volumes. And my friend Mike Phillips is another one of these guys that moved his family from Toronto. He's
Love
a
it.
producer, bought a house in Peterborough, and is running a studio out of Peterborough now.
So cool.
And April 20th, Melissa Payne opens the show, and then this is at Oshawa Music Hall. Melissa Payne, Say Ritual, and a band that's getting back together who I love called The Stables, and we've already sold 300 tickets for the show. So
It's
it's
a
gonna be
stellar
great.
lineup.
Yeah, it's
I
going to
love
be
Melissa.
awesome.
She's
And we're
great.
playing at the Twisted Wheel May 11th, of course.
Nice.
John booked us, and I still have the message. Judson asked me yesterday, take a screenshot, send it to me. Let's make it happen.
Sweet, man. Twisted Wheel
Twisted
and
Wheel, May
yeah,
11th.
and Water Street. Yeah.
You want to be there?
Make sure. Yeah, we're gonna try and go to that for sure. Yeah.
100%.
Wow. This
I know
was,
I talk a lot. Thank
no.
you so much.
No, I can keep
Thank
going.
you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Can I ask? Do we have time for
Yeah,
me to
we got
give
time.
one more thing? So I want to finish on passion and you know, what does that look like in terms of, we were talking earlier about authenticity and being true to yourself. So part of that is being self-aware. If someone has a passion in life, what would you say to them about going for it? You know, a lot of people in life just do side hustles their whole life, but they're scared of walking away from, which I get, the corporate career, the money. What do you say about, because you've tried a lot of different things in your life, about sort of finding your passion or passions and giving it a try? What words of wisdom would you give to people?
Well, you know, fear is something that plays a huge factor in all of our lives, you know, from one way or another. You know, as we just prefaced this Buddy Holly thing, I think that you are always your own worst enemy, and that can work for you or against you.
Totally.
All of us know what happens inside, and maybe there's outside influences that might be able to dictate to you, like what's realistic, practical, or cool, you have to answer to yourself. So when you put your head down on the pillow, and you might be doing the responsible thing by going to work every day, but you're really tired of flipping burgers, and you have songs or a film or a book or maybe the frame of a new structure that you feel like you need to build. You're doing yourself a disservice by not being true to whatever that is, and by stepping outside of the comforts of those circles that you run in every day to not let those things happen. And I'm not going to lie, I've been in a lull for the past year because those things have been my kids for the past year. And I took a bit of a gamble. I mean, the fact that you guys even welcome me in to sit down with you right now is a real, it's a real honor because I haven't been on the radio. I haven't been on a stage with, besides my band or whatever, but,
This is your comeback right here.
This is it. Yeah. There better be people outside when I get, but like
groupies, diamond groupies.
But the thing is in all seriousness, it's like, I don't know what the next chapter is, but that to me is more exciting than me knowing exactly what the next thing is going to be. And that's why I stepped out of it, because it was Groundhog Day a little bit for me.
Yeah, I love it. The unknown and fear can be a great motivator too.
It really can.
And you can always go get a shitty job.
You can. It's true.
Yeah.
You really can. There's really no excuse. And this is why I keep saying how lucky I am. My wife has embraced the downtime that I'm having right now in order for me to be able to be the best version of myself. Because if I'm not killing it, from within my heart, and then I'm not a good husband, I'm not a good friend, I'm not a good dad, I'm not a good
Going
bandmate.
through the motions,
all of these things. So when we made that decision, I just, even now to come back here, I'm so excited about the future. As of the end of June, I'm going to be living back in the heart of Peterborough again.
Yeah, we're going to be connecting a lot more. And, again, you got one shot at this life, right? So just bring it and do it. And listen, we really appreciate it.
We really do. Yeah,
Thank you.
This has been awesome.
Thank you so much, man. I mean, you guys are wonderful. You're killing it.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. And how can we find Matt Diamond on social? Like, what's the best place to find you?
Yeah, Matt Diamond on Facebook. My life is an open book. I'm so proud of my family and my endeavors. So you can find me on Facebook, and then on Instagram, Matt Diamond Holtby, because that's that's my name
there.
Sure, HOLTBY, Matt Diamond Holtby on Instagram, and then please, we have a 3-song EP streaming on Spotify right now. The band is Say Ritual, and then on any other platform. So if you're an iTunes or a Tidal, all that kind of stuff, we're out there, and I think it's just great rock and roll. So I'd love for you to listen.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate stopping by the studio today.
Thank you.
Awesome. We appreciate the coffee too. That's even better.
Problem.
Thank you for tuning into the StudioPTBO podcast. If you can like this, share it, tag 2 friends, it would be greatly appreciated. We will see you soon.